Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha. Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakarishi Sarvada. Om Ganganapate Namaha. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwaraha. Guru Deva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sarva Mangala Mangalle Shive Sarvartha Sadike. Sharanitrambake Devi Narayani Namostute. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Mahalakshmi Rupena Samstita. Namastasya 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 Namo Namaha. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shri Hanumanji Maharaj Ki Jai. Om. Welcome to Nitya Satsang. Today is the 19th of August 2025. I want to offer my prostrations to all the great sages and to Bhagavan residing in the heart of every single being. Starting today, what I will be doing so that our focus is even more on God the way it should be, I will be showing you different slides here just for darshan of the different incarnations of Bhagavan in the Sanatan Dharma as the exposition continues. So we are hearing the exposition on spiritual ideas, and at the same time beautiful images and murtis and temples and things like that will show up here on the screen for you. So that way we get even more benefit from the exposition because our focus is on Bhagavan, and then we're contemplating on the glory of God. That is the basic idea. So welcome everyone. It's really a wonderful opportunity every day to examine and talk about Sanatan Dharma, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, extraordinary concepts and ideas. And we have been examining Bhakti, the 9 forms of devotion, the 10th Bhakti specifically. And today a request was made by one of our devotees, one of our attendees, from a quote from Raman Maharishi. So anytime there is any question or anything like that, send it to me and I'll be happy to cover that. And if I need to do more research on it, I'll do that and present it for you. So that's my pleasure. It's a blessing for me. So the quote from Raman Maharishi is as follows: what is the use of knowing about everything else when you do not yet know who you are? See, what an amazing question this is. Raman Maharishi was a very great, awakened, enlightened being in South India, Arunachal Parvatam. He was a fully awakened being who had realization of the Atman, the Brahman, these things that we talk about all the time. He's realized in that. He knows that. He's aware of that, of the self. So what is the Atma? This is a question. And then how does this question he's asking relate to what we are talking about every day with regards to Bhakti? So let's see if we can pull some of the ideas together. So first of all, this question about knowing who you are. Knowing it is not simply an intellectual understanding. I can intellectually understand or believe that I am Atman, I am Brahman, I am pure, I am divine, I am that, whatever. That's kind of a knowledge that is obtained from scriptures and sages and all. But that's not what he's referring to. That is just at an intellectual, mental level. Fine. And that's good. But that's not the reality. The reality is the realization of the Atman. Who you are. If I ask the question, who am I can ask this question from my intellect. That is the capacity to question, jignasa. It is curiosity. So in that curiosity, there is the path of inquiry. This is the path shown by Raman Maharishi. What we have been talking about in the last 2 months is the path of bhakti. But they are together. In fact, as we continue on either path, they come together. So to inquire is to probe into what I am and what I am not. This is the path of inquiry. How do we go on that path? Well, we sit for meditation, we sit for contemplation, and we look at our life experiences, and we see that we have memories and we have feelings and we have activity going on mentally. But that activity is not me. That activity is my experience. In our Angel Wing program, we talk about the TEMDE, thoughts, emotions, memories, desires, and energy. So thoughts are mine. They are experienced. But that's not actually who I am. Right? See the difference. I can say that I am thinking. So the I and the thinking are different. I am feeling happiness. I and the feeling are different. These are my memories. I and the memories are different. This is my energy. So I and the energy are different in some sense. You see, so we might know so much about the world and its experiences. We might have degrees and have all kinds of knowledge about the material world. That's what Raman Maharishi is asking. What is the use of knowing about everything else when you do not yet know who you are, what you are? Who are we actually? We are that divine spark. Manashashtan indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. That shlok in the chapter 15 in the Gita. That we are a Sanatan Tattva, the same substance as the Parabrahman. How beautiful is this? How fantastic is this? That the Tattva is the same. Now to realize this is what Raman Maharishi is talking about. Realize it. Not simply talk about it, not simply roam around with lots of ideas. No, realize. Okay, that's fine. But now to realize there are many, many, many avenues. So the path of bhakti is generally considered to be the most straightforward avenue, where there is love for God. And that's what we will now talk about further in terms of this question of Raman Maharishi. For example, on the screen here, you see these beautiful murtis, beautiful forms of Bhagavan Krishna. Obviously they are constructed, but there is the shraddha that this is God. You're removing the idea of the stone or of the different material that it is made out of, and putting inside through shraddha the chaitanyam, that this is archa avatar. Bhagwan ka archa avatar hai, with that intense shraddha that this is Paramatma, the Lord of all, the present everywhere and everything and everyone, things like that. Okay? Now, that is in the path of bhakti, we will at some point realize the Atman. Why? Because in the path of bhakti, there is the purification and absorption of the mind in God, in Bhagavan, and away from the entanglements of the names and forms in this world. That's what Raman Maharishi is referring to in Sachin's humble interpretation. We might know so much, medical sciences and psychology and philosophy and what is happening in the politics and the history of the world, and endless amount of knowledge we may have. We need to have some, obviously. We can have it. Why not? But that is not just increasing that. It doesn't bring about realization of the Atman, of who you are, what you are, from a tattva point of view. That is called Atma Sakshatkar, to realize the Atma. So the path of bhakti is where we start with a great amount of just love and affection for Bhagavan, for God. And we have been talking about Sri Krishna and Sri Radhika ji. So we'll stay focused on them for some time. But any form of God which is appealing to you, okay, it's perfectly fine. Shiva or Devi or Durga Devi or whatever it may be, right? So whatever form that is attractive. But since we'll stay focused on Radha and Krishna. So you can see that through our senses, like on the screen, we can see these very beautiful, images and beautiful pictures of Radha and Krishna. Now we experience beauty. That's fine. We see, how beautiful. That's the very beginning. That's at the level of the senses. All right? That is a doorway. Then that Shraddha develops. That this is Bhagavan. That's a totally different matter. Anybody looking at these images will say they're very beautiful. Okay, that stops there then. Then what? What's next? The next is where the interesting part begins, is where to say, the images are beautiful, but then the faith develops, Shraddha. develops that this is Paramatma, that's a different matter. That develops how? Through scriptures, through the charitra, through the different historical pieces in this, that intense Shraddha develops that this is Bhagavan in front of me in this form, and I want to link with God. See this, so this is the third stage now, right? The first step is to see the form, the form of Krishna and Radha. Stage 1. If we see it with our eyes, we can touch the feet and all that with our hands. So there's through the 5 senses we have stimuli related to God. We just heard bhajans and all. That is through ears. Right now we're seeing the form of God. It's very good to see. I should have done this earlier, in fact. To have these images in our mind is very good. That is because we have all kinds of other trash inside the mind. So this is the second level where we start holding inside our mind, inside our heart, the forms of Bhagavan, the form of God, Sakara Swarupa, with the feeling, with the belief, and with the conviction that this is Bhagavan. I hope that's clear. Otherwise, if that feeling is not there, someone could put these images in an art gallery. It's some Indian art. There's no feeling that this is God or anything like that. It's just artistic expression, like there's other artistic expression. Very nice art. Culture and art and anthropology and things like that. And that's where it just stops there. There's no devotion in that. But when we see the same image with the eyes of devotion, it changes our emotion. It changes our thinking. It changes our buddhi. It takes us out of the vortex of the names and forms of the sansar, because that's what's stashed inside our mind. The names and forms of the world are deeply ingrained inside our chitta, chitta, meaning the antakarana. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. So to input inside, to ask Bhagavan to come inside and to have extraordinary beautiful images and murtis like what we're seeing on the screen inside our mind with so much love. And this is where the bhakti increases through bhajan, kirtan, the shravanam, smaranam, the 9 forms of devotion, padasevanam, to connect with Bhagavan. Now, as we progress in this path towards God this way, mind becomes very, very, very pure and still. And in the path of bhakti, the realization of the Atma begins to happen. As we connect with Bhagavan, the mind dives back into the Atman, and the Atman is realized. So then it is self-realization. That's what Raman Maharishi is referring to. So as devotion continues, that distinction between what is the Atman and the not the Atma, it begins to reveal itself with regards to the extent of Ishta Nishta, the extent of deep Shraddha in one's Ishta Devata. If, for example, when we are worshipping Krishna, those who are the devotees of Sri Krishna, they worship Sri Krishna as the Supreme Lord. Well, if that's the case, then with that devotion, as that devotion increases, there is going to be the separation between the Atman and the Anatma. Atma, Anatma, or Nitya, Anitya, Vastu, Viveka. That which is Anitya can easily be seen then. Everything that is changing constantly around us. What is Nitya? What is Anitya? So now this combines with Jnana. So what Raman Maharishi's entire path was path of inquiry. So the bhakti path connects with the path of inquiry. They all connect together, all the different yogas. They're all together within oneself. So it's very interesting. Because as devotion increases, we realize that everything in this external world is constantly changing. Then it doesn't affect us anymore. It doesn't disturb the path towards Paramatma. And we are no longer disturbed in the connection with Bhagavan. Then what happens? Then there is, Soham, Dasoham, meaning the effulgence that is the Atma Tattva. It reveals. That is who you are. That is a realization. And that realization cannot be described actually. That is a matter of extraordinary realization where the mind and its disturbances don't exist at all. Beauty exists. So that's why when we look at this image on the screen, beautiful roses, right? Both Radha and Krishna are completely adorned with roses. Why? Because that is a way to express beauty, to understand what is beauty, to be embedded with beauty through our senses. When we see this image, Sri Radhika ji and Sri Krishna, there are roses everywhere on their entire body. Even Radhika ji is holding the whole bunch of roses right in her left hand. And the right hand is giving blessing. Bhagwan Krishna is on the head, there are just roses everywhere. Why? Because at one level, there is that, how beautiful, because we love roses. So now that is connected with God. Now we take, the next step is to do bhajans. 108 bhajans. Can we do it? It's difficult to do 5 or 11 even. Sit with a mala. Bhagwan ki mala lena. Sit in front of this kind of beautiful murti. And listen to one bhajan after another without break. 108 bhajans. That is the beginning of bhakti. Then that connection, doesn't happen like that. Start with 3 bhajans, then increase to 5 bhajans, then increase to 11, then take a little break, and then continue. So you can say today, in the day today, 108 bhajans of Sri Krishna are going to be heard today. Wow, fantastic. Have a beautiful murti like this, or you could just use these. I'll send you these slides if you want. It is fine. I have over 1,000 slides like this. Fantastic, and that's why the temples are there. Why are there so many mandirs and temples and all that? It's to do sadhana. Why do we have home temple? So that we ourselves become the temple. That's our goal ultimately. But this is how it begins. To take a mala and then the path of bhakti, bhajan, kirtan, and then mantras. So stotra, mantra, shastra, stotra, mantra, shastra. Shastra scriptures and bhajans, kirtans, nam jap, all of these sadhanas, pradikshana, love, it's increasing love in one direction towards Bhagavan. This is Navda Bhakti is a directional bhakti towards the feet of Sri Krishna by the grace of Radhika ji. Now, as we progress further, that love increases so much, one begins to have the bhav that Bhagavan exists in everybody. But that we have to be careful. That doesn't mean you start spewing out, oh, God exists in you, God exists. You don't tell anybody that thing. It's just a internal vision. Yomam pashyati sarvatra. That's all. Don't say that. I have the habit sometimes of saying those things as a sadhana, and that is not necessarily the best thing to do. So one has to be careful about how to relate inside the relative world on the relative world's terms, but still maintain the higher vision. It's like I was giving the example. If you have a PhD level professor in mathematics who is teaching at Harvard University or MIT or one of these top Ivy Leagues or whatever, the extraordinarily high level classes, and that person goes into the Algebra 1 class or arithmetic class, okay, and he's sitting there as he becomes the teacher for all those students. He cannot teach that thing, that postdoctoral level, PhD level, the highest level of beyond differential equations and beyond calculus and all the extremely intense mathematics. You cannot teach that. He has to teach he has to interact with the students at the level of Algebra 1 only. That statement in the Gita that says, see me everywhere. That is the postdoctoral level. That is the topmost level. You see mountains and trees and people and ants and birds. Everything is Krishna. वो गोपी की final स्थिति है. That is the highest level of devotion. Now just to say that, you say, with the people of the world, they think you are gone crazy. What the heck are you talking about? It doesn't work like that. I'm telling myself this thing more than anybody else, because it's important to understand this. There are levels of realization, and at the relative level, one has to interact with the people of the world where they are. That doesn't mean one is superior, and one still needs to maintain the bhav that that Bhagwan is present. Just like that PhD great professor goes into the Algebra 1 class, he always knows that this is still mathematics, and he loves mathematics. He says, I love to teach you algebra. He even gets so much joy from that. He doesn't say, I am something greater than you. It's not, he is, but he's not going to say that, nor does he feel that. He or she doesn't feel that I'm better than you. I just have more understanding, or there's a better, greater opening, and then hopefully you will get to that point. That is the entire point of Guru Shishya Parampara. Guru Shishya Parampara is not about superiority. The Guru is here, Shishya is here, and then there's a constant worship of the Guru, and that Shishya is remaining where they are, and the Guru is there. No, that's not the point. Yeah, there's a respect, there is a humility, there is a surrender, all those things, yes. But the purpose of Guru Shishya Parampara is to elevate the Shishya to the level of the Guru. Then there is one. Then even though there's still humility and seva and all those things remain, but there is the one realization. You see, so the stages of development in devotion, they begin by holding on to conviction that Bhagwan is with me. Even that's a big thing. We've talked a lot about it in the past. Those recordings are available. So that conviction develops, that nishtha develops, that shraddha develops. And from that, devotion increases, bhajans increase, mantra sadhana. The goal is, in the path of bhakti, to establish an unbroken link. See this point very carefully. Otherwise, that is not bhakti. Yeah, we can have scholarly study, we can do darshan of the murtis, we can do other things, that's all fine. Bhakti is a different matter. Bhakti means that there is the flow of love through surrender and affection, and so much beautiful truth is just inside by listening to all the expositions on the scriptures. That becomes also a bhakti, that is Shravan Bhakti. And by listening to scriptural expositions, doing bhajans, doing kirtan, a point develops where you feel, the bhakta feels, I just want to remain in this link with God. When that appears, that means we have made a lot of progress. Lot of progress is there. That is Krupa. That is the grace of Radha, Shri Radha Ji. That grace of Shri Radha Ji is when we begin to experience that bhav, that feeling that I don't want to move out of this. Isme se nikalna nahi hai. If we reach that, get a glimpse of that, that means that is a very big step forward. And then from that, when a person remains in that, the bhakta remains in that, by grace of God, something magical happens, mystical happens. The realization of the Atman happens. This is through path of bhakti. And again, this is what is doable in today's world. The path of inquiry, just Jnana Yoga, these things are wonderful, but they're difficult. Just to sit in nature and just to separate what is not real and what is real without bhakti is next to impossible. It's very difficult to do that, if not impossible to do that. Bhakti is necessary. You see, so yes, Ramana Maharishi's teaching is fantastic. Just being overly concerned with the worldly affairs is going to just keep us in that realm only. Will never take us into the spiritual realm, spiritual reality. So knowing who you are, what we are, what is the purpose of this life, and realization of the Atman will then bring about fantastic leap forward towards Paramatma. You see, so these are the connections. There's a lot to be said about this. There are stages, but remember, when that glimpse opens up of unbroken bhakti, if a glimpse of that is there, stay in that, and then one performs activity. Regular activity is performed as we have to, bodily activities, worldly activities, but they are performed with the absorption in higher consciousness. You're driving your car from one point to another, there is steady contemplation going on. There is bhajan kirtan and contemplation. Bhajans are going on, stotras are going on, mantras are going on, not Bollywood songs and other stuff that is all going on inside. If you still like all those things, yeah, we may like them. But there's a deflection from bhakti because there's rag, dvesh, aham, mamatva. There's internal disturbances that can be caused by that stimuli, of external stimuli that disturbs the internal development of bhakti. That one needs to separate that away. Otherwise, one cannot reach that. It's very simple, right? I'll give you a simple example, then we'll stop here. If we have purified water, you can buy it actually. You can buy a gallon of pure water, purified water, distilled water, let's say. Very nice. You can use it in so many ways, right? For so many things. Distilled water. But how did it become distilled? All the impurities were taken out. But if you keep distilling the water, the distillation process is evaporating the water, and then the water comes out, all the other impurities, sand, dirt, whatever else is there is left inside the beaker, inside the other section. But when the distilled water comes out, let's say you have half a gallon, let's drop 1 teaspoon of mud inside here. Kya hoga? Now, the whole distillation process, the process is fine, but now we've added mud inside there. Similarly, when we are trying to develop bhakti, we have to be careful not to add the mud, quote, M-U-D, the stimuli from the outside that contaminates the purity of the bhakti. Not to add that inside. If we keep adding that inside, we'll not realize the Atman. What Raman Maharishi is talking about here, and what he's talking about there, Bhagwan Swaminarayan has mentioned that in Garada Pratham 20 Vachanamrut. All great sages have talked about this. Everybody has. And that's a very big thing in life. Garada Pratham 18, Garada Pratham 25, both Vachanamrut talk about this point. That don't add impurities inside. What we're seeing, what we're talking, what we're smelling, what we're hearing through the 5 senses. Keep the 5 senses in connection with Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Don't deflect from that. Now, somebody will say, what does that mean? I'm just sitting in the temple all the time? Yes, everything is temple where you are. But you may not be sitting in a physical temple. Wherever you go, there is temple. Even if you go to the mall with your family, you interact with them in the relative world, but never lose the divine vision, and at the same time do not contaminate the mind with contaminants. Meaning what? If you go to the store, there's some object that is there, without attraction and repulsion, still see the presence of God in those objects, and at the same time interact with it as necessary without raga, dvesha and greed. Can you do it? Is it possible? You see how tricky this becomes. Just go to some ice cream shop with your family and see the maya right away. See the pull. I like this. I don't like this. Our mind is jumping in 100 directions. We'll forget God right away. Ice cream becomes God. Oh, I love that chocolate swirl. I love sprinkles. I love this. I want marshmallow on this. I want the sun. We'll not be able to remember God. If you go into an ice cream shop with your family, go as the sadhana, like you're entering into a Krishna temple. Have you tried that ever? Think about this. If you go to a grocery store, forget that it's a grocery store, that you're entering into the temple of Sri Krishna. Remove the distinction. Internally, it doesn't mean you're telling people this. You're just removing the distinction, keeping that experience in connection with divinity. That is PhD level sadhana. As a sadhana, वो ऊपर level की sadhana है. Upper level is not like something that you cannot do. We can do, we just don't know how to do that. Because we are so trapped by fear and agitation and greed and lobe and attraction, repulsion. Our mind is overrun by that. We start driving our car, on the road, and we see car dealerships. Mercedes dealership, Volvo and this and that and high class cars, how nice. We're finished. The connection with Bhagavan is destroyed right away. You may have done 108 bhajans. Sachin may have done 108 bhajans. I see some object outside and say, how amazing this is. My mind is immediately cut. That connection is cut with Bhagavan. Isiliye Bhagavan Krishna, what does he says in the Gita? The Gita shloks have to be internalized. That's samatva. Yes, beautiful car. You're aware that it's a beautiful, very expensive, this and that. But you also see a very inexpensive car, this and that. Tulyaninda, this samaloshtashma kanchana. Equanimity. They're both just parts of the earth. There's a relative attraction. You're aware of that. You can see it within oneself. Come back to equanimity and dive back into higher contemplation by just driving a car from one point to another. That is also sadhana. But that takes time, to get to that point. We don't even know, most people never even try anything like that. Where's the issue of getting to that point? Try it sometime and see the miracle that happens. So the beauty that is seen here on the screen, Radha and Krishna, Shri Radha, Shri Krishna, that same beauty, exactly the same beauty, we can see going into a grocery store, seeing all the people there, whatever they're doing, they're at the relative level, there's rag, dvesh, aham, mamatva. See beyond that into the tattva that is within them. That is, Krishna is present in all of them. Yomam pashyati sarvatra, sarvam cha mai pashyati. 2 points. See me in all of them. That doesn't mean you're going around holding a banner, I'm seeing Krishna in all of it. You don't have to do anything like that. It's just a vision without division. So internally there's no pulling. This is an American, this is an Indian, this is an old person, this is a young person, this is this. Yes, it is there. Relatively, that at the relative level, these things are there. And we have to interact with at that level. But not to get caught up at that level. It's like the PhD professor who goes to the Algebra 1 class, forgets everything and knows only Algebra 1, and then eventually forgets all mathematics and becomes agnani, like totally lost, like the students who don't know anything in Algebra 1. Can you imagine how terrible that would be? A Nobel Prize winner in mathematics now is sitting in Algebra 1 class because he's forgotten all the mathematics. He has got plaques and the Nobel Prize, but it's meaningless. Koi gyani nahi raya. This is what happens in life. We may have done a lot of bhakti, upasana, Janmashtami programs, this program, that program, running around, God knows from here to there to there to there. It's all fine. But then when we come back into the sansar, everything is wiped out within a shot. Kisi ka avgun lena, finding somebody's fault, getting pulled with the vishayas, all that spiritual effect gets completely zeroed out. Bank account zeroed out. That's why people don't realize God. They celebrate festivals upon festivals and do sadhana upon sadhana. Chakkar mein sab chalta hai. Don't go anywhere. This is what Raman Maharishi is teaching. What is the use of knowing about everything else when you yet do not know who you are? To realize who you are, to realize that Paramatma, these ideas, once they are internalized, they're all in the Gita. The Gita is the master shastra that shows us how to pierce through the veil of Maya. And once we are able to recognize that, step by step by step by step, that Bhagavan, God's temple, is everywhere. That is the goal. But we have to start somewhere. We have to start with a beautiful murti of like the Bhagwan and Krishna. Bhagwan Krishna and Radhika ji with love and affection. And then as our mind gets purified, then that all that is needed is to not forget that divinity, that divyata, that bhakti. Not forget. That's all it is. It's very simple. The But the doctorate level person goes into the Algebra 1 class, doesn't forget trigonometry, calculus, and differential equation, but cannot talk about that with the Algebra 1 people. Sorry. He cannot do that. If he does that, they will not be benefited and he will be ridiculed. What nonsense you're talking about. So this is the Viveka. Jivan mein bahut important. I'm telling myself this thing more than anybody else. That this is very important to keep in mind, that not to express the highest levels of spirituality or anything of that type with those individuals who are not ready to listen to that. But God is present there also. The same truth is present everywhere. But there's a relative level. In Vachanamrut, this is called Tartamyata. That is a beautiful word that is used. Anyway, let's stop here for now and we'll continue on this further. But every day you'll be seeing beautiful images of Bhagavan. They're just fantastic. See, this is actually a picture here of Buddha here. You can see that. This is Hanumanji Maharaj. This is Bhagwan Ram. Beautiful, beautiful. This is Lakshmiji and Bhagwan Narayan. Panchmukhi Hanuman, Radha and Krishna. Again, Omkar. This is Saraswati Devi. This is Akshar and Purushottam. This is from Swaminarayan tradition. Omkar. Beautiful. Our mind, if it is filled with beautiful murtis of God. See now, look at this. This is a quote by Ramana Maharishi. Try to realize that the body is not you. The emotions are not you. The intellect is not you. When all these are stilled, you will find something else is there. Hold it. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on one second. I lost that. Something else is there. Hold it, that it will reveal itself. It is a revelation. That meaning we hold the Swarup of Paramatma inside. Let's stop here for now. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurme Deva Sarvakarishu Sarvada Om Ganganapate Namaha Om Aim Rim Klim Chamundai Viche Om Glom Hum Klim Jum Sahajwalaya Jwalaya Jwala Jwala Prajwala Prajwala Aim Rim Klim Chamundai Viche Jwala Ham Sam Lam Ksham Phat Swaha Durge Durge Rakshini Tha Tha Swaha Om Klim Swaha Klim Swaha Klim Swaha Om Hrim Swaha Hrim Swaha, Hrim Swaha, Om Namah Shivaya.